Wait, okay now.
Afternoon, welcome everyone to the meeting, Policy and Project Committee meeting. Steve Critney's not able to attend today in person. He's online, so we just thanks for throwing me under the bus. Right, here we go. Start. Karakia. Outside. Yeah.
Mai e te pahinga, rawe ki te tai. Mai te awatuna, rawe ki te awaraki. Tēnei te hapuri, api ai e takatahi. Whano, haere mai te toki. Hebi e hui e taike.
Right, do we have any apologies?
Brian Della.
Brian Della.
I'm happy to move that.
And the Mayor.
On the mayor.
Brian Della and the Mayor.
I'm happy to move those.
Move those. Second, thank you. Move on for that. We do any conflicts of interest in declaration. Someone jumping up and down? No. One in the public forum? No, in the public forum for now. So we'll pass on that one as well. So here we go.
No need to have a discussion on public forum.
Public forum.
There's no one in the
No
public
one
forum.
there. So we'll move on to 6, the confirmation of the minutes. .1.
I just had a question, just on a word on point 5, discussion of the public forum. Johannes acknowledged there are issues across the wider network and advised he's working with Paul Hogan. And it says they deliver a lot of work that is noticed. I was just wondering if that's meant to be as unnoticed.
Yes, I expect so. Correct.
Top of page 8, Robin. Second down, yeah, unnoticed.
Anyone else? Anything else? More corrections? Right. Move on to the reports.
We need to move
Nope.
the minutes.
I'll
on
I'll
minutes.
move.
Minutes. You second them?
Favour?
Yep.
Yay.
Against?
And then you clear the motions passed.
The motion is passed then.
Good.
Reports. 7.1. With your permission, Chair.
Could I invite the to the table to walk us through the report and answer questions that council may have.
Right. Kia ora. I'm assuming everyone's read the report, and I'm also assumed in writing the report, people have an understanding around greenhouse gases and their impact on the climate. So I haven't included that in the report itself. The main points are we remain carbon negative, which is a good thing, like being COVID negative. Our gross emissions haven't reduced much at all. But to put this in context, our gross emissions aren't huge. The biggest emitter is wastewater, and it's just the nature of what it is. The wastewater folks are doing what they can to reduce some of that. So some of the pipe replacements, for example, is part of that. And when you do the inventory for the 2025 year, we're going to have to adjust our accounting to account for sludge. So wastewater is always going to have emissions. The thing which is probably the thing that we need to note is the forest, which is our carbon sequestration. And when it starts getting harvested, we're going to shoot into carbon positive. So we need to have a think about what happens with that forest over the next 20 years. And so we can actually prepare before that harvesting. And look, there's nothing to panic about because the targets that we were to is a 2050 net zero. So even if we go through a period of time where we are carbon positive, we'll be back into, if we plan right, we'll be back into net zero pretty shortly afterwards. So there's a number of recommendations in there. A couple of them are just noting ones. The first three are about just confirming that the way we've been doing emissions inventories, we continue doing. And then there's two which basically say we need to think in the longer term around, we should be planning for the longer term anyway, about what that transition is in the forest, but also what that means for the rest of our emissions as well. So we don't have to do anything immediately, but we do need to think about the future.
Yeah, really great. I see it's on page 18. You say putting about the trees and between a rock and a hard place, and there's no get out of jail free card there with it. But yeah, it's all explained now. Page 18, isn't it?
So the forest is an asset, and it's on the books as an asset. And there are discussions going around at a national level about changes to the emissions trading scheme, which could potentially include native forests. So there's a whole lot of options that are opening up to us. Do we replant in pine? Do we replant in a native forest? So there's a whole lot of thinking that's being worked around.
Questions?
Yeah, just about the wastewater. How do we actually measure the emissions from the wastewater plant?
There are multiple ways we can measure it, and the first three inventories that council did, they actually measured it three different ways in each of the inventories. In the inventories that for the later 3 years, we've taken the easy approach and just use a factor based on the water volumes. We can refine that hugely because of the nature of the way that we do wastewater treatment. We could get those figures down just by counting, but it's a lot more complex. And when I looked into it, it's very, very variable. Because you need to get measurements from each stage of the process, including the sludge removal, to do that. But at the moment, we are using just a factor which we get from the Ministry for the Environment and volumes.
Because the key thing here is the year of 22 when our emissions apparently doubled because it was a wet year and because we had leaks in the pipes.
23.
It did strike me that just because we've got more water in the system doesn't mean we get more greenhouse gases out, does it? Because the water doesn't turn into, apart from water vapour.
The thing that I'd really like to do is to, because we've been inconsistent in the way we've been measuring it, is to just to agree on a formula and stick with that formula, because there are multiple ways that we can measure it. And some of the ways we can measure it based on the population. And so they all have their flaws, but I think we should just set away and stick with it so we've got something consistent to measure against.
You're suggesting that the issue is the trend of the emissions as opposed to the actual quantum that is calculated. So the factor you're using being volume coming through the wastewater treatment plant front door, let's call it, the headworks for the start, multiplied by a factor given to us by MFE. Now, we could potentially go much more detailed and investigate each and every stage of the wastewater process and come up with a much more accurate figure, but that won't change the amount that we are emitting. It will just change the way we're managing or reporting on the emissions.
If we do it at each stage, it's likely to bring that figure down. But as I say, we are carbon negative, and the factor of how much of the emissions is wastewater compared to everything else is what's important to understand. Look, I've seen some of the stuff that the wastewater people are doing. It's all in the right, going in the right direction. And as I say, we just need to pick a formula and stick with that. So one of the things in the 2025 year with the sludge removal is that if we just take volumes, that isn't taken into account at all. So taking a more detailed approach, which looks at that stages, including the sludge removal, is probably the best way to go. And it's what I'd recommend that we do going forward.
Because the sludge removal, because it's been composting, is that producing methane and carbon dioxide?
It is, but composting is less of an impact if we just disposed of that sludge.
Sure.
Going in the right direction.
In the right direction.
Points for that.
Yeah.
Right.
The other question I had, there's no mention in here that I can see of the little solar farm we've put in down at Dalefield. That must be helping, mustn't it?
So the report is for the 6 years until 2023. That solar farm was put in end of 2024. And so we should be seeing the effect of that in the 2025 year.
So it's not captured in here
It's
yet.
not captured in here yet. But it's one of the things I'd like to include, because at the moment, the way that we're doing it, we don't include sales, electricity return to the grid. We don't include a lot of things like the accommodation when we travel. We don't include things, I've even looked into the steam train we use for the Daffodil Festival. So there's a whole lot of things which...
next week.
Yeah.
Do that next week.
Yeah.
Please.
But in terms of, going from it's being something that's really dry and being a technical thing, we can actually talk about what we do as more broadly and talk about what that means and, some of the conversations that we are wanting to have around, so what does this mean for our fleet? What does this mean for, the solar and how that's distributed? They're conversations we need to be having, and we can use this reporting as a way to actually go beyond being just a technical document to being something which we could use to make adjustments.
Well, otherwise, with all due respect, it's a bit pointless.
Yeah.
Point of reporting.
Yeah, you mentioned on page 21 about some things that we haven't been counting. You've just said it then, the hotel accommodation and work trips. And I think very importantly is that vehicle mileage and private vehicles.
Yes. So it's one of the challenges we've got at the moment with the way that we do our how we refund people for that. So we're actually going to need to make some changes to be able to do that.
Are there simple changes to make?
It's just in terms of when people are applying for those refunds that we're really overt about what those lines are, and we can code them that way.
Questions? Grace?
Hello, everyone. Just a question with regards to the decision we made with local water done well. I wonder if you can talk to the way council will continue to report going forward when we're no longer responsible owners of the wastewater system. Will will that then mean we are looking beautiful and we've got this forest and we've got no outgoings? Like, how does that look on the report? Because it seems a little bit of fudging the details, but technically it won't be our water treatment anymore.
Yeah. So the way that we we measure stuff is the stuff that's in our direct control, and when local water done well becomes a council company or whatever the arrangement is, it's no longer under our direct control. So we don't count it. But what I would intend to do in the 2024 and the 2025 emissions report is talk about our major suppliers. So things like our electricity suppliers, we have two, which are both source all their electricity from renewable sources. We can talk about our Fulton Hogan and the Ruamāhanga roads and some of the sustainability stuff that they've got in train. So rather than directly reporting on that wastewater stuff, which we won't need to under the new arrangement, we can then talk about what local water done well is doing in that space. So we don't actually count it. Yeah.
Thank you. Just a sort of another question with regards to our emissions compared to other councils of a similar size. Have you done much comparison there? Are we looking comparable?
We're really fortunate to having the forest and being carbon negative. Most other councils aren't, and they are scrambling around to find ways to offset. So, for example, South Wairarapa, when they last did an inventory, which is in 2021, they actually produced more gross emissions than we did in that year. And so, but they didn't have the offset that we did.
Yeah.
And now I suspect that all the three Wairarapa councils, our forest is probably enough to pretty much offset the emissions from all three of us.
Wow. Thank you.
Apart from how we look, there aren't any actual financial considerations from being either carbon positive or carbon negative at the moment, are there?
No. I suspect at some stage that there'll be changes to the legislation that means that if we are carbon positive, then we have to find offsets at some point. But I suspect that's probably not for another 15, 20 years.
Brittany?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, Ricky, I've just got a couple of questions. Are the crops that are grown under the irrigator, are they counted in the calculating the emissions?
No, because they're harvested, they become neutral, basically. So anything which is has a short harvest period, then we don't. They're not included. One thing we have been looking into is if there are areas which are larger than 1 hectare that are regenerating bush or forest that the council owns, whether we should be counting those as well. But it's early days on that yet.
Might be an opportunity there in the future to grow something else underneath the irrigator then that we might be able to count to help offset.
Yeah, the challenge is that it needs to stay there rather than get harvested.
The other one I had, I know you've mentioned in the report around the petrol emissions. I was just really shocked at like a 600% increase in the petrol emissions from 21 to 22 and 23. It was
yeah, there's challenges with some of the data. I've been going through the files, and 1 year I find a note saying, oh, the diesel had been mislabeled for pretty much 8 months or something. So what we're trying to do is to settle things down and be consistent in how we actually record and report stuff going forward. But yes, there are some things which are data quality issues. the total amount is right, but where it's actually positioned, we can't go back and figure out how that works.
You need to be future focused.
Yeah, we need to set things in a regular way that we can have confidence in what we're measuring. Yeah.
I look forward to the future reports, whether I'm on council or not, just around the wastewater and the ingress from stormwater into the wastewater, especially down Lincoln Road, and the amount that has decreased. It should make quite a considerable difference to the emissions, I hope.
Yeah, I've started doing the figures for 2024, and there's a drop, quite a marked drop in 2024, which is a good thing.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Question, Chair? Ricky, I wonder if you might just talk the meeting through the compost trial we're having with sludge and the impact potentially on our greenhouse gas emissions should we begin to accept other councils' sludge, and whether or not that would be reported under our report or not.
It depends on how we structure it. And if we are running it as a business, then as a business, we should be accounting for it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Discussions? See the report.
Yes.
Individual ones.
Only two those three. Equal to CV.
We were approving things, we need to take them individually, but where they're just noting or endorsing, you may be able to take them together as one. So I'll take the first three.
Like to receive a report for us that. All those in-
You to move that?
I saw Deputy Mayor Creetney's hand go up. There we go.
Any second it? All in favour?
Those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
One.
Carried.
Carried. 2, approves the continued use of the control approach to our emissions reporting. Grace?
Moved it.
Lou, second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? No, passed. And number 3, approves the inclusion of all control approach activities in our emissions reporting, travel, accommodation, private use and mileage.
Happy to move that, Robin?
Second that.
Steve Lawrence, second that one. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Pass that one.
Yeah. We have to just check with the meeting whether they're okay to take the remaining 4 together as one. And if the meeting's comfortable with that, then you can.
Right. So we're just looking at number 4, 5, 6 and 7. We can take all those as one if everyone's happy with that. Right. Anyone move? Is that 1, 4, 5, 6 and 7 as one motion? There's a mover. Steve Lawrence
Need a shaker.
and our deputy mayor second that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion is passed.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ricky.
Excellent. Thank you.
Your permission, I'll invite you to the table to talk us through the update to sensitive expenditure policy.
Okay, tēnā koutou katoa. You'll see we've had a pretty robust review of this policy with audits oversight, which has been fantastic. By and large, more clarification and fine tweaks around the edges than anything incredibly major in the policy itself. Other than, I'll just highlight the addition of the koha clause. So that is something that we hadn't previously included, but important, highlighted by audit to include in this as well. So happy to take any questions.
Can I just ask, when was this prepared? When was the document put together?
The review.
Yeah.
The review was done in June by audit, and then we've done the sensitive policy just in the last couple of months.
We had one before.
It's not a new
I
policy.
understand that.
Yeah.
Guess the point I'm going to make, which I've made lots and lots of times before, is this is one area that I think council, the elected members, probably should have some oversight on. We've got a chunky agenda this morning. We've got another chunky agenda this afternoon. We're in the middle of an election campaign. I just wonder if this sort of document was available. Could it have been circulated before Friday?
So you'd like to workshop, and so that is the opportunity we can do right now.
Doesn't have to be a workshop, just that.
More
time
Yeah.
to review it.
I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me, but I'm working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's now Wednesday. We've got, I don't know, what adds up to 50 megabytes of stuff. I think it would have been helpful if we'd had this just as a heads up, so that we could actually have thought about it.
Yeah.
Get a chance.
We can move it to the next projects meeting. We'd like to. That's what we'd like to.
Look, I'd prefer to do that, but I'm just one of the new around 6.
Councillor Lawrence, I too mark on that, and I'll go to page 42, and I've written there, next time I'm in the same room with my accountant and inland revenue, have a good discussion on the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had some questions on it too.
So if the meeting wants, you can leave a matter on the table and bring it back for consideration at the next projects and policy meeting, which will be after the end of this training, but it could remain on the table.
Is that what you would like?
The Mayor has this.
Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Gary, I mean, I'm happy if that's what the table wants to do. Do you still want us to ask a few questions around this, seeing as we're talking about it now, or you just want to?
Happy to take questions, yeah.
Okay. I just had a couple just around whether we should be adding a little bit more into this. Page 37, do we need to add in a maximum acceptable charge per night for accommodation? Because I think it's a little bit dangerous to leave that open.
Entirely in your discretion, if that's what we'd like to do.
I think I've had a look at a couple of other councils' policies, and they actually have a figure in there of $350, which I think is reasonable for a night's accommodation, and should be able to get something under that. So,
Yes.
Page 37 again, under point 2, travel and accommodation is to be carried out on the same day as the relevant activity. Just the paragraph underneath it, I think that's going to need a little bit of work. It doesn't
I
really
had
make
that
sense.
highlighted too, Steve. Doesn't make sense, the second sentence.
Yeah, it should
The
be.
second sentence of the
Point 2 of
Point
policy
Shouldn't start.
procedure.
Oh, right. Yes.
It should be a comma, and the word there is
Yes.
is surplus.
Yes. So just remove the word there.
And put a comma after activity.
Part 3, I actually think that we should be looking at providing an allocation for staying in a private accommodation. Because to me, I mean, let's say we put a maximum acceptable charge per night of $350 for accommodation. If we can get someone to stay in private accommodation, and we're providing them $60 per night, I think that's a great saving on behalf of our ratepayers if we're providing that opportunity and actually allowing them to contribute in some way to the people they're staying with. I'm not sure what others think around the table about that. That's just another one that I've seen in another couple of council policies. There's a $60 per night allocation.
Do you mean like as a per diem?
Per
A
diem?
per diem?
Per day. What I have seen in corporate is a very similar policy where if you aren't staying in paid accommodation, motel, hotel accommodation, there is an allowance, essentially a reimbursement allowance for an overnight accommodation that didn't incur external cost. So exactly like a per diem daily rate.
Yeah.
And I have seen that in corporate, and I agree with Deputy Mayor Creighton that it's a saving to council, and all of that saving shouldn't be necessarily borne by the individual who's decided to stay with their parents or their family or friends, and benefit the ratepayer.
We want to look
We
at
want
this
to
further.
set an amount for that, so that's where this
I would have thought so.
$60, is that the $60 per night of staying in that arrangement, private arrangement?
Would I call it an away from home allowance
Reimbursement.
or reimbursement rather? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a phrase.
Sort of reimbursement.
Yeah, I just have to work out the receipting or the proof
Yeah.
of evidence or that kind of.
And that would also
That's
have to be the right wording for audit, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll just work that through. But,
The other question I had was just around the sale of surplus assets to staff and the one underneath it, private use of council assets. Should that be elected representatives added into that?
if you would like, it's it's entirely up to you.
I just
There's potentially
just
some
for
health
me,
and safety.
if private use of council assets is going to be made available to staff, I would have thought it maybe should be made available to elected representatives as well. That was all.
For health and safety.
I'm open to having a discussion on that. There's a slightly different employment relationship between staff and councillors. I just want to work that one through.
It was just a question.
Certainly the first one that you make and a comment around sale of asset, I can't see any issues with, but the use of assets.
So under that use of council assets, and that would, for elected members, that would then raise all sorts of other connotations as well, wouldn't it?
It's probably just a control. So we've got, as Deb said, we've got the employment relationship if someone is misusing the equipment or there's an employer control that we have, and the health and safety component of that as well. So that's probably why it hasn't been there before. But it
is most certainly an employee benefit, and one of the things that we talk to is balancing the challenges we sometimes face in attracting staff. Need to have a look at that.
Which
How does that?
Sorry, Steve. You go.
I was just going to say, how does that work? Because surely it's along the same lines as an elected representative using one of the staff cars.
When an elected representative is using a council vehicle, you are working under health and safety legislation. So you're doing something on behalf of council. When you're using a private asset, you're not necessarily working as a councillor. You are undertaking a private
Okay.
function. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the difference.
I wouldn't be comfortable seeing elected members being able to use council assets. I think that just is way too grey an area. As somebody that's not restanding, I don't think it's appropriate, personally.
I just think the nature of this discussion and the things that are arising makes me think perhaps that we should have a workshop on this.
In your hands, yes.
So we bring this back to another workshop.
Mhm.
And as I say, I agree. Some things like, they use something and forget to put oil out and then bring it back. Yeah, it's back now.
We can move that, just thinking about the induction process, may be useful to do that as part of that process for the new, there are new elected members.
Mm.
And between now and the election, it's
And it would also give incoming council, and especially for new members, a really good, I know beginning of this term, we didn't receive a lot of training, whereas the previous term we did quite a lot of whiteboarding and went through various things like this. So I think it would be really useful as an outgoing member for incoming people to actually, it'll help accelerate their learning as well, going through policies like this.
we'll move it to a workshop
Move that we come
post,
back and
post-election.
look at this. and-
yes, during the induction process, but before the end of the year. So
Happy with that? Do that.
No, we'll
No,
leave
move on.
that on the table and move to people put through. She's happy. I invite Bex. Hello.
Just waiting to be invited.
Right. I don't want to talk to it. Morning, everybody. So I'll take the paper as read. Basically, a little bit of background for you. So the community services team run a couple of different advisory groups. And one of the things that we are often asked by various members of the public with areas of interest is if we can set up an advisory group for their area of interest. Examples include environmental, older people, and a disability advisory group. So the conversation started to form the basis of this paper about what do we do with advisory groups and what we'd like to bring to council as some recommendations. And so this paper is asking for an endorsement for a combination or to combine two of the advisory groups that we run. And by nature, we can loop in all of the other interest groups and make it a community advisory group. So we've put some rationale in there, some benefits, some considerations. We did take this to the last advisory group meeting. We spoke with both groups and had a really healthy discussion, a very robust discussion around some of the benefits, some of the considerations, and some of the risks that they see as sitting members. So we have included all of those, both the benefits and the risks and considerations, and would do that as part of our work to see, to make sure those risks are mitigated and that all of those voices are heard and the work of the advisory group is actually extended and improved and opportunities are captured rather than it being a negative move. So, open it up for discussion, questions. Anything you'd like to
Start the discussion. Two things that are in the report you didn't touch on there that I think are important is getting more staff presence at those ones, like specifically walking on wheels is often questions that would be awesome to have a member of the roading team there, because it might already be done or it might be a quick answer.
Yeah.
I think that's super important that we do have the staff presence from the relevant departments there. And then another thing that was mentioned in both was the importance of us as elected members and as the chair to bring that back up to council and make sure that there's some accountability for the actions that come from those groups. So I think that's a really important thing for us as elected members to note that that is our role of these groups. So yeah, they were just two big takeaways that I had from those groups, but I think it's a fab idea. I think it makes sense to combine them and with the time and resources needed for running the two. It just, for me, makes sense to.
Yours?
Yeah, contrary to what I said before about reports turning up late, I know that the genesis of this was only last Wednesday, and I think it's pretty well to get this on the order paper. So thanks for that. And I fully support the community.
Anything else? Move that we receive the report. Robin?
Did you move it?
No.
I thought you said you moved it.
You moved it. We have another second. Second it. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Against? Passed. So let's receive the report. We're going to do these two separate. Endorse the option 2, combining walking wheels and people in place of advisory group. Just talked about.
You could probably join those two.
Join those two together.
Like
All right.
meetings comfortable with it. Lots of nods.
All right. All those in favour?
No, we need to do.
We need to move that we put
Happy to move.
together.
Yeah.
Lawrence.
I'm happy to second those two.
Kerry Campbell second that. So all those in favour?
Yep.
Right. Everyone going yes? No one against? Pass that motion.
Thank you, Ben. Well done.
Good to hear. Sorry, I wasn't there on Wednesday.
Yep, turn around.
Okay.
Which I do.
Nice. Nice work.
7.4, page 47.
Markets.
Feel comfortable. I'll invite our communications and engagement to join us.
Marcus.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Kiara, everyone. As is traditional, I will take it as read, and as is traditional this morning, I'll give you a bit of background. This one's been bubbling away for some time. Those of you here in 2021, when I was sitting off the dark side of the force. Hi, Emily. This was put forward in that triennium, so that's 2 ago now. It was up for review in 2023, but we obviously had quite a lot going on, different set of priorities. So it's been put forward now to get in this triennium. I would hope that we'd get it signed off in the next triennium again. The communications and the community engagement policies have been brought forward. They're kind of reformatting and updating. The social media policy has been taken out of the communications policy and made standalone. I don't think I need to tell anybody in this room about the evolution of social media in the last few years. So that's why we've recognised it as a particular thing that needs addressing directly. One other point, bottom of page 47, a little note that's in there that probably shouldn't be reassuring to know that it's been reviewed. That's been taken out of the online version, but I think it's in the one you had. So that might clear up one question.
What are you talking about there, mate?
Just a bottom bullet point on page 47.
The bottom one.
Which reads.
Which reads defined roles and responsibility and strong quality and accountability. It's deeply ironic that probably should.
Oh, okay. So there's a question in there. Should right.
Yeah, and given the theme, it's it is what it is. But it did get a review, so I'm very pleased about that. Again, for you, Chair, I will take any questions, comments.
I have on page 57.5 elected member communications. Elected members must be informed public messages relevant to their portfolios, and it says or wards. Carterton District Council don't have wards. So
Not currently.
does that need to be? Yeah, that's what I was saying, because we don't currently have them. And it's probably not likely to have them within the term of this policy. So,
Comes up for renewal.
so therefore, ought that to be taken out?
My preference is to keep something that keeps it general. But yeah, if that's your
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was
Yeah.
a reason behind it, but that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, if the representation changes, we'll have bigger things to provide than this. So yeah, I'm happy to take it out right now. And yeah,
It was just a question, like, is it appropriate to take it out? Or
happy to.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Marcus? Grace?
Oh,
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, just a comment, probably similar to the earlier paper that we looked at. I think this is another one that would be really useful for the new council to look over quite early on in the training, because I think this is the way the council portrays itself is something that I think new councillors will have something to say about. So I agree. I think something in the induction where they review some of these policies, even, you know, assuming we go through signing it off today, I just think having it early on in the training would be quite useful.
thank you, councillor. I completely agree. I'll leave it with the CE to comment further. But yeah, I'd love that. We will obviously take the lead from CE, ELT, and obviously elected members in the new training in terms of strategy. And I think this will be very important to put in front of them very early.
again, in 2019, we actually had a workshop on communications and sort of, which was useful, which is what you were just saying, Grace.
Yeah, happy to.
Yeah, because at 4.5, second point, personal views must be clearly distinguished from official council positions on social media. That's pretty challenging. You have to think about that. Because, you know, try not to get involved in scraps on social media because there are no winners. On the other hand, my personal drive is to get rid of as much disinformation as possible by presenting facts. But and I did that with my own name. It doesn't say Carterton District Council. People don't really think different distinctions. So
certainly, it sounds like it's up for debate. I know traditionally people have spoken. It was fashionable a couple of years ago to say things like, in my opinion, but if you're trying to defend or explain a position that counts on a decision councils make, then absolutely you'll be speaking as councillor. So yeah, happy to refine or remove that.
I don't think it needs removing. Probably needs
Part of
people to
the
understand.
training
Yeah.
for next term
Of course.
on how to
Yeah.
interact with social media would be very beneficial.
Thank you.
any other discussion? We received the report.
Removing it.
I'll move it. I'll move it.
A quick question, sorry. The consequence for elected members of non-compliance with these policies, like social media, what is the consequence? Because these apply more to staff. What happens to us?
So normally that would flow through a code of conduct type and inquiry or consequence, as opposed to trying to put consequences in the policy. It's more around the code of conduct, code of practice, and standing orders.
And I can put a line into that if that helps. Thank you.
Another discussion before we receive the report. So I'll receive the report. Any seconders?
Gary Campbell.
Yep, I'll second that.
Right, all those in favour?
Right.
No one against? No. Passed. Move on to number 2. Endorse the external communications policy.
4 and 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do we take 6 as well?
I'll just do 2, 3, and 4, and 5, if that's okay.
cut it off at 5.
If the meeting is comfortable with it.
Happy with that? We've got down to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
3, 4, and 5.
6.
That one. So we just need to move those.
Right. Now 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm moving that.
Happy to move.
Right. Steve Lawrence, move that. Second. Good, thank you. Right. All those in favour? Happy? Anyone against? No one? Two, thank you. Go down to number 6. Acknowledges the adoption of these policies directly supports the social, cultural, environmental and economical well-being of Carterton residents, mitigates identical legal, reputational, operational, cultural, and environmental risks.
I'll move that.
Robin, thank you. Seconder, Lou, thank you. All those in favour?
Right.
Anyone against? Is that you against, Grace?
Yeah, thanks. I didn't think that we were doing the well-being stuff anymore, so I don't see why it's there. So yeah, against, please.
So you want it recorded as against? Thank
Yeah.
you.
You need to note that the motion was passed or carried.
So the motion was passed, a majority. Good. Right, that's the one done. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7.5, page 75. Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
Back again.
Apologies for David, who is probably underwater in Fiji at the moment. He's big diving, so he's just.
I'm pleased you added diving.
So it's not like there's a side.
But Jeff and I can speak to this report. It's a bit of work that we've been looking at for a long time. It's just really getting the robust data collation and reporting. And I think we talked about earlier with climate change as well, you know, really just being able to easily, quickly and be really confident in the data that we can pull. So we're wanting to not only have more robust data, but more regular data reporting through to monthly or quarterly reporting internally. So David's done some great work in terms of developing the framework that will enable us to do that. Happy to answer any non-technical questions, perhaps Jeff may be able to, but yeah, the data expert is not on site at the moment, but happy to take that's what we can. And so you may have something to add.
I have nothing to add. You've introduced exactly, you've done it exactly as I would have said. Thank you.
No questions, everyone? Oh, we do.
It's just a couple of comments. I like the statement, presentation of the data to decision makers must not leave the agenda. I think that's a very good point. I also noted when I was then reading the council agenda this afternoon after reading this one, we do have a lot of data kind of presented to us. And sometimes it would be really good if we could have some sort of average for that data that's presented to us, because it's really hard when you've got a bazillion bar graphs. Like it'd be really nice to have like a moving median and maybe like if council had a best practice for how they did present the data to make it more readable for us rather than just some lines so we could actually see the trends in the data over time would be awesome. So they're my 2 points. Right.
Any more discussion? Bryce?
I just totally agree with Lou's thoughts. I liked that exact same line in the report. I think this looks really good. I think giving councils as much information as possible is great, but I agree there are some reports that we get as councillors that are just easier to get the main information out of than others. And I think if there was some sort of benchmark of how we present things, that would be so helpful.
We've started with the long-term plan and the annual plan, so that's where the major benchmarks have come from, and then we've augmented that with other regulatory reporting that we are required to do either in the water space or in the building control or regulatory spaces. So David started pulling that together. The first port of call is to collate it all together and automate the reporting so that humans aren't involved, that it is, in this case, potentially the robot is doing the reporting. And that way we get the data that is in the system without any kind of manipulation if that were needed. The next piece, as both Councillor Ayling and Councillor Newman have pointed out, is how we start to interpret that reporting and finesse that reporting so that it actually provides information for council to make decisions on. So this is a stepped process, but it was a requirement that I asked the team to bring to the last policy and projects meeting, our reporting and show you that we are making strides in pulling this together for council and for it'll improve over the next training. Yes,
Awesome, thank you. Looks
take
good.
that feedback.
More question. Sorry, page 78. One of the things I know that you guys, it's in there in the sample, is things like the level of satisfaction with the event centre, library and swimming pool. Are these just generalised examples or are these actually things that have been reported on from the resident survey, or? They
will come from data sources. So in this case, that metric will come from the community survey.
Okay. And so I'm just looking at that. I think that's a really good example of why we need to really think about the community survey, because people might be hating on the swimming pool, but love the event centre, and we can't extrapolate from that what it actually is. So I was just looking at it. It made me really think we need to be really careful of the questions we're asking so we can get the information that we need.
And just to add to that, so that's not the one source. Bex can probably talk to us a bit more about the data collation and feedback specifically on things like that. So actually having snapshot surveys for the library, for example, of users. So those that actually use the library, because what we found obviously in the past is people who don't use facilities are actually commenting or giving us a mark, pass or fail mark, but don't actually use the facility that they're talking about. So we do want to incorporate more targeted feedback and surveying as well.
And so for that kind of thing, we can pull out specifically library, specifically, which is cool.
When we start the long-term planning, we can also review the metrics that we're using as well. And maybe we do want to pull those back apart. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Right, move that we receive the report. Anyone? Thank you. Second. None. Lawrence. All those in favour? Anybody, anyone against? Unanimous? None, thank you. Well done. Thank you, Kerry. Move on to 7.6, Backflow project update, policy on page 83.
With your permission, I'll invite this operations manager, Lawrence Dickinson.
Decision report.
Lawrence.
Thank you, Chair. Assuming Chris will also have a bit of an update on how it's sort of progressing. However, I'll take the report as read. However, I am conscious that I probably made a bit of assumption that everybody understands what backflow was.
I think that would be really good for you. Give it.
Backflow.
Yeah. So one thing, and it does go into it, is that we have to manage backflow, and that is basically every connection to the water network is a risk of contamination. Now, with the household meters, there is a non-testable double check backflow already in it. However, businesses, and it can be like hairdressers, all sorts, have a higher risk. So this project is to look at going around, looking at the businesses and checking what that risk is. And there are two types of backflow. You've got back siphoning,
which is if the fire brigade connect to a hydrant and start sucking out water, that can create a negative pressure within the network. And if it's close to a high risk, you can get that's being sucked into the network and introducing it that way. And then back pressure, where something within the private property creates pressure that's more than what is in the network and pumps it back into the network. So it's addressing those and going around at each property and seeing what that risk is, and trying to get that protection, which is now a requirement, a higher requirement than the previous legislation.
That explains pretty well. Thanks, Lawrence.
That's okay.
Yeah, but any other questions for Lawrence? Grace?
You mentioned hairdressers being a risk. How does that work with people who have hairdressers that they run out of their backyards or, you know, a spare room in their house? Because that would obviously still have the same sort of customer base, but you wouldn't know them.
If they're actually running a hairdresser, they are required to have a license. So that's one of the things we can check on the property.
No,
not anymore.
Not
okay.
No, not before.
Okay, I think correct.
Just the other day, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. But did you say residential
So
properties have the double back something?
they've got the minor in terms of, but that's the thing, it's non-testable. So we can't go along and check and get reassurance that it is providing that backflow. So yes, that is a risk. So potentially that's something we would have to look at in the future and manage by going around and seeing who's advertising hairdressing and see whether or not we've got backflow protection.
Okay.
Medium risk in terms of
medium, high, yeah, depending on what the actual, yeah.
And I apologise, Councillor, did that answer your question?
It highlights the fact that it is a risk.
Yep.
Not necessarily the obvious solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sorry, as part of it, we have to have a backflow prevention plan. So it's an ongoing iterative thing that you're keep checking new businesses or businesses change, updating that and making sure those risks are managed. So it'll be ongoing. This is a distinct project to make sure that what we do have in place is correct and also that we're managing the council's risks as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask Lawrence to just expand a little bit on the responsibility for providing the backflow prevention device and why we're here today asking council for support and what we're proposing to do about that?
So the new legislation previous to this, we relied on the bylaw, which said that businesses had to, but we didn't actively go around and check. So with the new Water Services Act, we'll be proactively going around and installing it and recovering costs from businesses. If they did get a building consent, that is already managed underneath the building consent process. So that is one reason why we've been going around and doing surveys, is that instead of installing something at an additional device, if they're already managing it within the property, then that's the risk sort of managed. So this is papers to say that we'll be looking to recover costs from any devices that we do install, and also that ongoing maintenance will be the property's owner's responsibility. So that's what would be required underneath the Building Act anyway.
What we've found is an inconsistent customer response to backflow prevention devices. And what we're proposing is that the Waters team take over responsibility for installing and maintaining particularly the high-risk backflow prevention devices, and that we recover those costs from the property owner so that we get a consistent response to backflow prevention, and we're able to manage the water quality in our potable water network more accurately than we have been previously. But it is important to recognise these backflow prevention devices are the responsibility of the property owner. We're not getting consistent treatment, and so we're suggesting that council takes over management of that and recovers those costs. Council.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, just with regards to recovering costs, that all sounds great. When the CCO is all set up, that all then gets transferred over and becomes their job to maintain this backflow prevention?
Correct.
Okay. Just checking.
I don't know if I should be declaring conflict of interest or not, but you might be able to help me out here. I mean, when we put the cafe in, we had a backflow put in as part of the process under the builder's consent flat. I'm not aware we've done any maintenance. How do you maintain these things?
Lawrence could probably talk to the average lifespan of a backflow prevention device and what's required.
It's similar to any sort of mechanical sort of 10 years, but you should be doing an annual check of the device. It depends on the different device. And for instance, if you've put in an air gap, that doesn't need to be checked because it never fails. But some mechanical devices need to be checked annually to make sure that they're still correct, doing their job, basically. So there should be somebody coming around and checking on an annual basis, yeah.
When you say someone coming around and checking, is that the council staff or water people or?
Well, I'm assuming you put it in as part of your building consent?
Yeah.
Yeah. So underneath the Building Act, it should be being maintained annually to check that it's still managing the backflow risk.
I couldn't possibly comment on that.
Yeah, and that's highlighting that sort of risk that people are not aware of their responsibility as well.
Hence, we get inconsistent responses and management of our potable water supply network.
Which is why having this
creates risks.
Yeah. I mean, you hear horror stories where somebody had a little business and they had a cyanide bath, which is just connected up to the network.
Not in Carterton.
No,
No, just one in Carterton, yeah.
But those horror stories, they're things, but people just go, oh, we'll just hook this up.
So Emily, if you're listening to that, it wasn't.
Cyanide bath. Thank you, Lawrence.
Anyway, something you don't want drinking.
Oh,
Well,
say that.
well, even people fill up their swimming pools and leave the hose running, so that's a risk. So that should be managed usually with a small device for vacuum protection. So some of it can be quite simple, but yeah, managing that sort of risk ongoing.
You're right, Jeff?
Take some heart medication.
Any other questions for Lawrence?
Before he leaves the table.
Always drive out.
It's any more headlines.
Right. Any discussions on that? Aren't happy with the answers he's given us.
Some of them.
Know
Right.
the risks.
Right, so we received the report.
I'm happy to move that.
Seconded. Steve Lawrence. Right, all those in favour?
Yeah.
Yep. Anybody against?
We'll talk later.
Right. Right, so if we go to 7.7, which is waste management and minimisation update, page 89.
Your permission? It's Vish.
Kia ora koutou, Chair, Deputy Mayor, elected members and staff. I take the report as read, providing a quick and brief updates of the waste minimization comparison and everything what we've done in the past few months. I'm very happy to say that the last month's July landfill was the second worst that we have recorded. I'm pretty happy with the graph lowering down. And I take Councillor Lewis' comment, 2 policy projects prior, that we do need to have some standard graphs. I hope that he like that. So a few important project updates. So we have initiated the tire-wise product stewardship scheme. It is up and running at Carterton transfer station. I've seen the tires inspected by myself, and it's looking pretty neat. The residents are cleaning it as much as they can, and we have no official complaints until that. So I will take no complaint as a very good news. And one of the big things which happened last month was the soft plastic bins installation at New Vault. The community feedback received was just fantastic. And you can see at the end of the report some photos with the mayor and the bin as well. It was pretty all right. And we all take very good advantage and very good feedback from the community. Just on quick with the soft plastic, was a very quick thank to the Parks and Reserve team, especially Clinton, Ans, Shane, and Josh. They have been very supportive with this schematics, and of course to the new world as well. Just wanted to go on with that. Last month we had a workshop held by the Toyota Foundations, who give the funding and provides the necessary arrangements for Enviro schools. But I guess given the Toyota Foundation are no longer in position to hold the contract for the Enviro schools, so they held a workshop last month where with the officers of the Wellington region and other Greater Wellington region as well have witnessed, and they have attended the workshop. A collective decision was made that for the time being, the Greater Wellington Region Council will take the temporary contacts for the Enviro school up until for 18 months, and then we can have a further discussion and a solid sort of agreement of what the future looks like for Enviro school. And of course, the desludging of biosolid trials have started with composting NZ. It's looking very streamlined, and we have went and located the site by myself, and it's looking very neat. Composting New Zealand is doing a very nice job, and the cleanliness and something which we are very happy with. So in the upcoming months, we definitely will see what we can provide and what business can be run in terms of the composting. I have also attached with this report the official feasibility report for the organics curbside collection. And just to give you a quick overview on that report. So we did have a detailed discussions with the WMMP steering group, waste elected members, and the group managers and the waste officers last month sometime. And this whole process of the feasibility study required the officers and the contractor to indulge with the stakeholders. And with the report and with all the engagements in the past, probably around 10 months or something, you can see that the officers' recommendation is a scenario 2C and scenario 4 and 4B. Of course, we will be providing a very detailed report of officers' recommendation in the next upcoming projects policy, but I really wanted to put this on record that we have received the feasibility report, and this is what the officers' recommendations look like. And with the service requests, Smart Environmental is doing a very nice job. And just for the next step, so we are, of course, Daffodil Festival is on Sunday. We are very excited, and I'm very excited with the waste minimization thing side of it, which I'm pretty sure Precycle will take care of it very nicely. Next week, we do have a business waste education program with Kate Penwick, and we have involved and requested Go Carterton to share the news with the community. And it is a joint program between South Warrapa and Carterton Council. And we are getting some good feedback in terms of people wanting to join and have a business waste education program. It was more, we really wanted to focus the waste minimization aspect of the businesses in the Carterton community, because even though in terms of the staff and in terms of other regular residents, the businesses are quite often neglected in the past few years. So that's why the initiative is to focus on businesses Warrapa at this time. And the similar following next week as well, we are in joint venture with Keep New Zealand Beautiful. We are doing a cleanup week. And we have quite a few residents and volunteers who are already interested in getting the cleanup kits from council, and then they can start cleaning the community in terms of litter or rubbish. And Smart Environmental is also helping us in that regard. So any rubbish collected during the cleanup week, the people who have registered will be taken free of charge at the transfer station. So this is the initiative which we are also spreading out in the community. I'm up for any question or comments if anyone has any. Yeah, thank you.
I've got a quick easy question. How do people register for that cleanup week?
There is a link which we have already sent out to on social media and everywhere, but I can be more specific and send the link to the wider group as well.
It'd be cool to be able to find out. I'm not on social media, so I don't see anything on there,
yes.
but I would be keen to get a crew.
Yeah, like through the database email.
On the website.
I'm pretty sure it is on the website, but I'll just double check because there is a Keep New Zealand Beautiful website link. So once you register into it, it goes straight to the Smart Environmental, and then they let us know that you have registered, and then we can just look at this. But I'll make a note on that. Yeah.
I think the sludge compost, that's pretty exciting sort of stuff. I think it's a problem everyone's got.
Yep.
And you guys have come up with an answer. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Yeah. One of the best things we've done on.
Yes. When look at the site and going across with Brendan from Composting New Zealand, I guess I've gained a little bit more knowledge about composting in those 3 hours with them. But it's looking pretty dominant, as you say. And yeah, we are really looking forward to push this business case in terms of getting the feedstocks of similar like of waste feed from the nearby regions. So to create a market for it and a market value as well.
It's great news here. Brilliant.
The trial does have quite a heavy testing regime through this initial 3-month period because it will help inform the business case to expand the operation. But yeah, there is, because we're dealing with sludge and we're mixing it with compost and it will end up being potentially a sellable product, there is quite an intensive period of testing of that throughout the 3-month period to make sure that it is compliant and we do have a product that is useful at the end. So,
yeah. Right. Any questions?
Great report.
Right. Yeah, anyone to move we receive the report?
Happy to do that.
Robin?
yeah, Creeping second.
Deputy Mayor Brittany is seconded. Those in favour?
Aye.
Right.
Against? No? On the same page?
Yes.
Brilliant, thank you.
Hold on. Sorry, Jeet's next. Sorry, I'm a head. Sorry, I totally apologise.
So 7.8, page 196, update on operational consents.
Sorry, could I invite Jeet to the table this time?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chief Executive and Councillors. As usual, I'll take the report as read. Got a couple of updates. We had to do an emergency discharge because we didn't have enough flow at the Mangatula stream. We did proactively contact Greater Wellington and decided to irrigate land first. But fortunately, we received a significant rainfall and we were able to discharge or empty the reservoirs. That's one of the major updates. And otherwise, all other processes are going as usual. And in regard to landfill consent renewal, we have engaged the consultant and we had a meeting with the consultant and we are waiting more information on that because I have to provide them with more information on it. So otherwise, everything as usual.
Just going through the process. Take any questions?
Everyone's got a lot of confidence in you, apparently.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
Right.
Don't we discharge to land preferentially before we discharge the main? Yes.
Yes.
Depending on soil moisture levels.
Yes. So we're in a situation with soil moisture levels are too high, really.
It's preferred. It's
We received the report. Anyone? No more questions on that? Received the report. It's read.
Yeah, happy to.
Robin Cherry Campbell. Second, anyone? Who over here? All those in favour?
Yep.
Got everybody? No one's against? No. Done. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Right, 7.9, update on major projects, page 201.
With your permission, I'll like Christo to join us.
Morning, Chairman and members of Council. I'm bringing you the major projects update. So I assume you have it. Just highlighting that we've recently completed the Wainawa pump station, the water process pump station, and it's up and running currently and overall successful in the final instance. Brooklyn Road, we've also completed Brooklyn Road water main successfully. We've had our issues, but it went well and we're happy with the results. Lawrence has spoken about the backflow prevention program. So GNC Diggers has already started installing backflows at our pump stations because our pump stations were also invested in, and we now will proceed to businesses. We're going to write letters to businesses that we are approaching them, and we will get onto the premise to install these backflows. I expect some kickback from the community because probably the cost would affect some of the businesses. High Street South, we are in a planning process and designing process for the new water main to come up from just past Brooklyn Road all the way up to the north side of town. So the main has to be replaced, and we're also putting rider main on. So we're going to put the main on the western side and the rider main on the eastern side. So that is a long-term project. With our current budgets, we will only be able to do short sections at a time unless we can get money brought across budgets so we can do longer sections. We're also in the process of designing the wastewater pipe in Brooklyn Road so that we can in future have something to cross over once we've finished other works. That's mainly some of the highlights. Open for questions from your side.
I'd just like to say congratulations on getting the Wainawa processed water up and running and under budget.
Thank you.
Very nice to see.
a good one to tick off. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You're saying Brooklyn Road, on the main road, replacement of water. How far north do we have to go?
We've got to go all the way to the right to the end of town. We have installed a rider main on the western side a year ago, but we still need to replace the main on the eastern side.
So that was down by the service station.
Yeah,
down there.
yeah. So we've got a rider main in, but that main has to be replaced still. But so does all the main, all the way from Brooklyn Road up this way to that point.
Yeah. And it must be getting older because I see them putting cones out to that small.
Yeah, so we've got the pipe's very old, asbestos pipe, and we've got copper laterals coming across from this side to the western side. Those copper pipes are all breaking and leaking. So that will do away with the copper pipes.
Yeah, I've seen two of those copper pipes and they got stones on them, and they just with movement of traffic, they just work their way into the pipe.
So they're extremely old, and we patched them with PVC pipes, but it's and the copper pipes are in the way. So if NZTA wants to renew the road in future, they're going to be in the way.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor, was it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Christo, just a question around the sludge. I know it's mentioned 600 tonne. I'm just curious, based on the size of the pond, 3, how much sludge was actually removed? Because 600 tonnes is not very much when you're talking about heavy waterlogged sludge. So I'm just curious actually how much, if you could put it into a square metre area of the pond was actually removed of sludge.
You could probably say 600 tonnes is 600 cubic meters, roughly.
In terms of the volume of sludge that was there, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Christo, but how much did we think was there to start with?
We've got some figures. I haven't got that on me at the moment.
Perhaps we'll take that as an action, Deputy Mayor Creaney, and see if we could at least clarify the amount of sludge that we removed compared to what we considered was in Pond 3 before we started. Would that be helpful?
That would be great. Thank you.
The volume the height of the sludge went down considerably when they took out that volume. But it's not obviously not all the whole lot of all the sludge in the pond. So we can do some calcs and come up with some answers.
That'd be great. And I think you just mentioned before.
Lawrence
sorry.
is going to say something to say.
It was about 25% of Pond
3. 25%.
Yes.
Okay. There's the figure there. Thanks.
Just another question. I think I heard you just mention before about the High Street South water main renewal. Did I hear you say it's got from the end of town? What? Or did I hear you say from Brooklyn Road?
Yeah, so the next road from Brooklyn Road there's the side street. From that road up to the north side of town, right to the end of town.
Okay, so from Moreton Road, is it north?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Coming north to the northern side of town. Obviously, we're not going to do it in one go. It's where we're going to start, and work our way up north.
Thank you.
So the idea at this stage is because there's no room on the eastern side, there's already a pipe in the ground. It's sitting right between the curb and the white line. So there's not much room to work in that space, although we'll have to do this going up north. We want to make it easier for us and put the pipe on the western side. And because there's so little room on the eastern side, we're going to put the rider main in the footpath.
And just to comment that it is dependent on budget. So the design work is being done because we need the design work regardless of how much or how little we decide to do. But it is dependent on sufficient budget to make this happen. Where we can, we will try and align with NZTA, who do work on the main state highway, because this is a state highway road corridor. But again, it will depend on whether or not we have sufficient capacity to do this in our financial budgets. So.
Yep.
Oh, just getting back to our process water, we said we've got 4 connections to the process water, which is really encouraging because I thought we might have none. Is that like a significant uptake? Do we know it relative to the amounts we'd have available?
Not off the top of my head, I can't answer that question.
There are many more properties that can link.
Yes.
So it's not a significant amount in my view.
No.
And because the main one that we were going to supply weren't interested. But the option is there for others to join to the pipe. In some cases, we might. We've gone down Wainawa Road up towards the pump station and then all the way down to Martinborough Transport.
Yeah.
The street. So normally, there are a few cases. So Martinborough Transport is one of the premises that wants to link, and PCL on the left-hand side. Kiwi Rail wants to link, and then Composting New Zealand.
So the positiveness out of that is that so far there are 4, and once they connect, then others will see the benefits and the options, and we've got a build it and they will come type. We've built that, so now that the connections can start happening.
The only problem we would have is if someone would want to connect, which is further down the road. We don't have pipe available for them at this stage.
We're talking about the south, if someone's on the south end, was build
that
and want
new
to be
area
connected.
And further down south, we could just extend that pipe, but under the budget, I could only reach certain areas.
Discussion. We received the report. Seconder. Lawrence, second.
This is today.
All those in favour of receiving the report?
Yep.
Is everybody against? Everybody, it's done. Well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Right, 7.10, Ruamāhanga Roads and Corridor Access Report, page 211.
Oh, your commissioner. Graham Trail.
Thank you.
Read the report.
Had you highlight anything that's changed since you've written the report?
The three things I would like to just bring to the table as main points for this report are an update on the school speed review, the road cone hotline, because it seems to be a hot topic with everyone at the moment, and our changes into the new system that we're about to adopt. And the main one for this report is the structures of our bridges. Would you like me to give a quick brief of my views on each of those three, or would you just give me questions?
No, you tell us what you'd like.
I'm thinking that you read the report, so I would get your questions. So the school speed review is currently underway. We are in the report. You could see that there was two options that we can choose for those signs. One is extremely expensive, and the other one is the analog stationary sign. That is our preferred option. The reason for that preferred option is the through life cost of those electronic signs is considerable. It's not just the initial outlay. And we have looked at some of the other councils who have already submitted their plan to the Director of Ministry of Transport, which we have to do, and they have been accepted to use the stationary analog signs. So as a department, our preference is to use them to save money, and it will meet the needs. Once that decision has been made, I will draft a letter to send to the Director of Ministry of Transport, who will give us our approval for that plan. The next point was the road cone hotline. We've had one report in Carterton, which we actually got a month after the event, so we couldn't actually take action on that that reported event. But what we're doing is, come November and December, we're moving into a phase where we're transitioning from the current system for our corridor access requests, and we're moving to the new NZGTTM, which is the new government's initiative for reducing road cones. So we will be in touch with all our people, all our companies and our businesses that have the generic TMPs come November and December, and we have to have it in place by the middle of, I think it's June or July next year. So we will have the new system under place, which should see a new working process for people that are applying for road cones. And it should see a slight difference in the way we do business. The actual companies are responsible for their proposal for the road works. We are just, as a council, checking on them and making sure that they're safe and doing the right thing as per their plan. The other thing, and the most important thing I believe in this report, is which needs to be highlighted to the council, is the current condition of our bridges and the funding that we have available. The report highlights that we have just gone through last year's bridge inspections where we have a consultant. So just to give a little bit of a background, our bridges go through a 6-year cycle where they have principal inspections and a general inspection and a maintenance inspection. The principal inspection is done every 3 years, and that is where a full engineer's report is written on the bridge. We are currently not making headway with the list of issues that we're having on our bridges. I'll give you an example. I think it's on your report. If you want to turn to page
227.
Yeah, I wrote the details down before I came here. Yeah, there's a table there that's got bridge number 38 on Norfolk Road. It was just an example of the most important bridge that we have in our network. We've had an estimated cost to repair that bridge of $35,000. This year we only have, $350,000. In this year's budget, I only have 363. So that's, and I have another, if you look further up on the page, I have another 38 high priority bridges that need repair. So I can just fix one. And I believe that the money that we have outstanding between 350 and 363 will be consumed with resource consent and other things as well, which we haven't accounted in that budget. So our structures, our bridges are dire. And if we don't do something quick, we will be stopping milk tankers to farms, stock trucks to farms, and so on. So in the next 10 years, if we don't do something positive now, our bridges will be will be terrible. Just be quite frank.
So the report you've had done on the bridge structures will come up to policy and projects?
Well, has never done in the past, to my knowledge. It's something that we work internally, and this is just a summary of the findings of that report. If you would like to see the full report, I'm happy to do it.
It'd be worthwhile for the new council to use some of that information to help set budget for next annual plan and long-term plan. I'm not sure we'll be able to deal with that in an annual plan, but it should be an issue that we table as part of our long-term plan. So this long-term plan, we considered pavement rehabilitation, and council will recall that we moved our pavement rehabilitation budget from around 0.3% to around 1% rehabilitation, and we may want to consider what we do with regards to our structures in the transportation budgets when we consider the long-term plan or our next cycle of planning. I think our asset management plans will certainly inform those budgets and that discussion that we have at council.
Policy projects and adding to June, talk about bridges, and I said too, there's a lot of there's only so much in their budget for checking, and it's right down and brought it up about inspecting bridges, and as Joanna said, there's a budget for that, and so need to have pieces. It's a very tricky one to manage.
I can give you an example of another bridge that we look after in South Wairarapa, the Ridford Bridge, which is down on the White Rock coast. This repair got into a state that was so bad that it's now having to be, a lot of money has having to be put in, and we're talking in excess of $1 million just to fix one bridge, which supports one farm.
Yeah, I did suggest they stop the road before the bridge.
There's one family living on the other side of the bridge.
A quick question on the bridges. I noticed that we've got 2 bridge 38s. Is that?
Ooh,
we've got the Carrington.
That's a typo.
Okay, yeah.
Carrington Factory and North.
Yeah, there's two different bridges at those locations. That's a typo. Sorry.
It's a little bit of a spelling error of the property bridge as well. It seems.
Okay,
but we seem to have more R's and no T's. But can I just, I suppose, personal experience with Bridge 38, the Heady Property Bridge. I come over twice a day. That is the only access to the Forest Park. It's heavily trafficked. It's not like a bridge with one farmer on the other side of it.
There's lots of bridges that need, there's 38.
Yeah.
I could go to, there's people on the other side of all 38 of those bridges.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make things any worse, but I'm giving you the details here of the bridge inspection. It was done for last year. We're about to go into our bridge inspection for this year between now and Christmas. So that 38 will have another set of in the sequence of 3 bridges in the cycle that we run through, might now have another 38 added to it because those bridges have not been inspected by an engineer for 3 years. So that 38 will grow by December.
So that's definitely a consideration in the long-term plan for the incoming council to have as much information and the risks associated of doing nothing or not attaching a budget to it.
I think as we had a similar conversation as part of the long-term plan, we do operate a risk strategy. Our pavement rehabilitation should be, 3%, and we're currently at 1%. Our bridge budget should be significantly more than what it is at the moment, and it's not. So I think it comes down to council having to understand the asset management trade-offs we make within the budgets and decide which priority takes higher importance for the next cycle, and that may be structures, and perhaps pavement rehabilitation or footpaths or another part of the transportation budget takes less of priority. But that will have to, we have to make tough choices.
Is there any scope for us getting any kind of I don't consider emergency assistance, but a slightly higher fire rate for.
We can apply to NZTA for extra funding. That the Rutherford Bridge down in South Wairarapa, we applied for additional funding.
Good.
Just
We will explore all of those opportunities.
I think
Done in the past with other.
if we identify a bridge that's about to fall down, that then triggers the request. But for general maintenance and ongoing maintenance to keep our bridges in good condition, I don't think you'd get much funding.
As you say, you don't want to start recognising something and then say, right, no more milk tankers over that bridge. You know, you're leaving it too late.
Yes, that's why I say that, because that sort of focuses people's minds when I say that, you know, economy and impact is not just a bridge becoming.
It's bigger than a bridge.
It's bigger than a bridge. Yeah, I did read your minutes from your last meeting about the Graham O'Dowd thing about the culverts, and this is very closely related to that. You know, we have nearly 2,000 culverts, you know, and his comment was that, you know, we're not looking after them. In 3 years, we've done 1,981. In 3 years, we've inspected. We can inspect them, but if we don't have the money to repair them, we can't repair them. So he's saying that we're not doing our job because we're not looking after the culverts. We are actually inspecting them, but we don't have the funding to do the work.
That's exactly what Johannes is saying, how the money to do every job is just not there.
It's not. Yeah. There was two on last year's bridge inspection. There was two bridges identified, one in South Wairarapa, which we've replaced, and the other one was down by Stonehenge on Aurora Settlement Road, which was a culvert. It was classified as urgent, which meant it had to be done straight away, because if we know about it and anything happens on it, we're in trouble. And the others fell into the category of high category. So we managed to do the urgent, but we couldn't touch the high, the 38 that was sat in the high, because it consumed their budget doing the urgent.
I don't think our problems are confined to Carterton. I think they are experienced across the transportation network nationally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? And anything else? Any of the other things? I've got lots of bad news if you want to hear it.
Say that for next train.
It's about his staff coming to the table with the media in the room.
Oh.
Thanks for that. As I say, you pointed out that what needs to be done, and yeah.
Well, I just felt that needs to be mentioned, because it is a thing that we need to make progress on.
If I can just say one thing on a slightly lighter note, I don't know if anybody's had a look at the stuff site this morning, but there is a road cone in serious distress in New Plymouth, because it was obviously marking some sort of pothole, and when they came and repaired the pothole, they just sealed around it. So it's there forever. So I suggest you don't do that.
Road cones.
Are you sure it was actually the roading company, or it wasn't just some locals that had some asphalt and decided to make a joke?
It's a very tidy asphalting job.
Well,
it's square. It's pretty rectangular. It looks.
Well, I'm sure our contractor would do that.
No, I think they wouldn't get away for it long once it was inspected.
There's no other questions. Receive the report. With that, seconder. Deputy Mayor. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Against. Done. Good. Right, we've got 7.11 update on planning resource consents, page 230.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm aware that we're running about 20 minutes behind schedule, so I will take this report as read and happy to answer questions if there is any from the elected members.
Great. I like the new format.
So do I.
It makes it easier to read.
Yep.
On the And I quite like that the historic homestead has been relocated.
Yeah, it's gonna look great.
Yeah. That one down the far end of Lincoln Road near the corner of Brooklyn, that relocatable there.
Oh, that's cool.
They've done such a good job and so quickly. It's
Yeah.
It's stunning.
yeah, really, really nice job of what can be done.
That's one where any proceeds from the relocation versus a sale and the cost price is going to the life flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, but they've done a really good
That's
job of that.
one, I think.
Oh, wow.
Dugdales.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
So cool to have people like that in our community.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, very straightforward report. Brilliant, thank you. Right, any questions, any more? All happy?
I will move that we proceed the report.
See the report? Cool.
I'll second it.
Second. All those in favour? Everybody done, finished.
Karakia Whakamutunga.
Yeah.
Just before we, can I just move a vote of thanks to the chair?
You did a really good job for your
It's time, look.
It was a meaty agenda. There's lots on it. Well done. You did it.
Yeah, we need to do a Karakia there.
You could try again.
Yeah.
Meeting this afternoon.
Kia whakaria a ti tāpu, kia wātia ai tiara, kia tūri ki whakataha ai, kia tūri ki whakataha ai, haumi e hui e tae kia.
Very good. Sorry, councillors, I think we had a session booked at 10:30. Should we take a 10-minute break and be back at or 11, if that's okay with Steve and Grace online?